Congratulations to volleyball. Big win over Stanford, sweeping Stanford, and then I believe 21-3 on the year. Unbelievable job they've done.
Chris Cartman, son of a source. Kenny, just confidence matters. I understand that you're focused on small victories, but anything that you sense from the team coming off of that win that is positive that you can build off?
Yeah, I think situational football, in terms of we won the situations, was something that they realized how big it was. I mean, when you look at the game, and there were no turnovers in the game, but we had 11 possessions versus their 9. And how do you create +2 possessions in a game with no turnovers? You win the second half, the second quarter, and then you end the game with the ball in your hands in a 4-minute drill. And to be able to do that and really gain, it's really a possession and a half because the one possession ended because of time, but to be able to gain that time, I think those guys are buying into situational football wins. And for them to see that, I think it just makes them, more focused on those areas of practice and how valuable they can be.
And then what did you see? Of course, you got into more manageable third downs, but then you converted at a much higher clip than had been the case this season. So what were the ingredients to that?
I think guys, for lack of a better term, they made some plays. I thought Trenton extended a play really nicely to Gio on basically a runaway post. Cross man, and that was a huge play in the game. I thought we ran the ball well, and I thought our guys just executed at a higher level. I don't think there was a secret sauce. I just think we literally just ran everything correct, and we executed, and then the guys made plays. That was the most plays we've made. Tight ends making contested catches, extending plays. We made a lot of plays.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Can you talk about the maturation of the offensive line? I thought they had one of their best games this week. There were no sacks. Your running backs got yards. Trenton had protection, so it seemed like it all came together there. And as a second part of that question, Utah always usually has a pretty good defensive front. So what about that?
Yeah, obviously our offensive line has battled this year. With Joey and Leaf kind of being the core of that unit, and they've just showed grit the entire year, and they've just brought people along. Cade Briggs battling through things. So I think those guys have just been, to be honest, fighting and fighting and fighting and working and working and working, getting better and better and better together. And I think it showed off. And I think just the last play of the game, a team's in essentially blitz 0, and you can run split flow zone and create enough movement off of it to get a 3rd and 7. I think that's a testament to those guys, the work they put in, the film study that's put in, and the resilience. In terms of Utah, this is the culture that we want, that I envision here. They're the program that I envision hopefully having here, a coach who's been there for 19 years, who's built it up, who's established physicality in the program, toughness. That's what we're trying to build here. So this is the standard, the gold standard in the league, in my opinion, for what a program should look like, should feel like. And it starts with stopping the run and running the football with them. And I think any elite program, which I consider Utah an elite program with how with coach there and what they've done. And I think any elite program has that physicality up front, and they have that. I've been talking to our guys about this game for a long time, showing clips of what it takes to win at this level, at a high level, and I've been using Utah as the example.
Coach Blake Neiman, Cronkite Sports. I know you're looking ahead to this week, but just kind of touch on Washington State real quick. Knowing the uncertainty of their future as far as conferences go, do you think they have a place in the Power 5?
Oh, I have no clue. I'm worried about us. I know that's a good question. That's a fair question. I'm the worst person to ask because I am very, very focused individual. So I'm all about us. I do think Coach Dickert there has done a phenomenal job. I think their team plays hard for them. I think they're well coached. So got a lot of respect for Coach Dickert.
Hey, Coach, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ. This is going to be the third straight game where Oregon has played your opponent a week ahead. Is that something that, a team you're very familiar with, obviously, that you can kind of take some things of what they've been able to be successful with and, apply to maybe the following week against these opponents?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you watch them, I kind of know some of the why they're checking things, and I can kind of see, they checked 4 vertical angles to field 2 trap on Utah, the same thing that we did versus Utah last year. Theirs scored, ours didn't last year. But so to see some carryover there is good, but it's also a negative because, they know, well, that's what we would have checked too if we would have got that. Because they watched us play last year, they see them play again, so they say, okay, well, what's ASU going to do if they get this same picture? They're going to do the same thing. So maybe they got to be more creative with their disguises or change some things up. So it's a blessing in some ways. It's a curse in other ways because they know there are some similarities now to those game plans. Now we're a little bit different, obviously, and we're adapting and changing, but the core of who we are is still going to be similar.
Hey, Coach. Noah Furtado, son of a source. You mentioned on Saturday the elite effort that you guys had displayed, and you really honed in on that. With like perimeter blocking and instances of that, the small plays, what were some precursors throughout the week or weeks prior that you felt had finally built up to the point where they could show that?
Yeah, well, we've been doing perimeter blocking period 3, really first offensive period of practice for the last 3 weeks. And last week versus Washington, we were atrocious at the assignment of it. And I really challenged the guys that these are plays, these are extended runs. If we want free touches, if we want to get the ball in our playmakers' hands, we have to have an identity that we're going to be able to do this. And I think it's just a testament to the guys for really buying in, really believing in it. And like I told them today, Utah is one of the most aggressive and violent teams defending perimeter runs in the country because what they do defensively. And they are violent, and you better, if you get into a stack or bunch and somebody presses you, you better set your jaw because that dude's going to try to put your butt in the ground. So, it's a great challenge for us to see where our physicality stands because this football team's identity is physicality, and they've had 19 years to establish it.
People say that more is learned from losses or failures, not getting what you want, than the opposite. How much value is there for you with your first season as a head coach that the team has gone through these struggles, that you've had to make these sorts of adapting to everything and the adjustments, the injuries, et cetera? And what do you think the value of that will be long term?
Yeah, I think anytime that you create calluses, right, they're there forever. So when you can play well and get better and not get the release or the happiness that you want from it instantaneously, it calluses your hands. And those calluses eventually come back to be a positive for you. And I think slowly we're going to keep building calluses. We won 1 game. Like, let's relax, right? We're going to continue to get better. That's the challenge. Every single week, every single game, doesn't matter if we would have won the prior 4 that we could have won or we would have lost last week. We would be sitting here today doing the exact same thing. I'd be talking through the exact same plays with the players, going through the exact same process of the game plan. There's really no difference, but Saturday night was more fun. It's the only difference that I view.
What about, though, any sort of lessons that you yourself have taken going through this the first time?
Yeah, I would say be prepared for the unpreparable. And what I mean by that is like worst case scenario situations that you couldn't even imagine. You should make sure you have a plan for, or at least talked about. Like the Washington game would be an example of that. And then really try to put your players in game-like situations even more. So, we've been banged up, so we've taken stuff off the players for a stretch of time. And, the last couple of weeks, we've actually done more good versus another, even with the injuries. And, we've stayed healthier through those, and we've played better. So it's a good learning experience for me that, we can't, just because people are dinged up doesn't mean you can become soft. We got to keep doing good on good work. We got to keep improving, keep getting better, and don't let your circumstance always dictate, how you're practicing, what your outcome is.
Coach, with Utah having a top 10 rush defense and Washington State kind of a different look in that respect, how do you have to adapt this week to try and work around those difficulties?
Yeah, I mean, they're good. Bottom line, they've got a really good defense. They're very aggressive. They challenge you almost every snap. Very similar mindset that we have here defensively in terms of we're going to attack, and we're not just going to let you go up and down the field with easy completions. And I think that's why they've been so good for so long. Then they have good players, and they have a head coach with the mindset that we're going to challenge you and be aggressive. So I think it's a great challenge for our guys. We're going to have to be different this week than we were last week because it's different personnel we're facing. So to think we're just going to say, let's just do the same thing again is absolutely ludicrous because we're facing a completely different team, completely different talent, skill sets, and a completely different, really, philosophy on how to play defense. Even though they're both aggressive, they're still way different in terms of how they're aggressive.
As a quick follow-up, one thing that will be similar is the hostile environment, just from Washington going there, and now here at Rice-Eccles Stadium, another pretty loud environment. How were you able to block out the noise in Washington, and how you can carry that over to this week?
Practice. We went in the bubble, and we made ourselves deaf for 5 days, essentially. But that's the only way to prepare is to practice. So we go in the bubble, we play their fight song, and we play crowd noise as loud as you possibly can till your ears ring. You put your coaches on the sideline and make them get reps like it's a game, and you have to simulate the game if you want to operate in the game. And, hopefully we can be one play better on the road, one timing better on the road, one detail better in critical moments. And that's really what shows up on the road in these games is the physicality, but how do you operate when the crowd is cheering, when it's fourth down, when it's third down, when it's super loud, when all the pressure is mounting and you're on the road and everything's against you, can you line up and say alignment, assignment, footwork, and then the ball is snapped, then you go do it. And that's really the challenge.
Hey, Kenny, Jake Seymour, Son of a Source. In the last 2 weeks, you kind of faced a 4-2-5 defense, and this week, Utah likes to run a 4-3-4. What are just some of the differences with that third linebacker in there? What are some things you're picking up on with their scheme so far?
Yeah, they're very pro style. They match people. So if we were in 30 personnel, they would put another linebacker in the field. 32, they're going to take corner off. They match people. This is a man game. Bottom line. That's why they're good on defense. If you put in a fast guy, they put in a fast guy. You put in a big guy, they put in a big guy. It's very, very NFL mindset. They don't play as much with the hybrid nickel who can cover and also tackle the run so they can be versatile. They put the players in the field to match your players, and they say, we're going to do what you want to do better than you. Put a big guy, we're going to hit better than you. You put a small guy, we're going to run better than you. And we're going to do that with, in my opinion, really good scheme, really creative scheme that changes minutely, if that's even a word. Sounded really good throughout the years. But that's what they do. They make minor changes to what they do, but they do it at a really, really effective rate.
And then for you, since they're just going to change basically your personnel, how do you try and find some of those advantages throughout the game?
Yeah, you just see if there's something that is a positive for us, whether it's a personnel package, whether it's a formation, whether there's tendencies, just like you do every week. Most teams, I shouldn't say most, 50% of teams have the same mindset. Teams that obviously play more man and match more man are going to have more of this philosophy to match people than teams who are more zone-based on first down. So because they're a solid amount man-based on first down, you're going to get more matching of the people versus a team that, plays a little more zone.
Coach, it's clear you have a ton of respect for Kyle Whittingham and the program he built. Have you had any interactions with him over the years?
Yeah, I told him at our media days. I just told him you're kind of what I want this program to be. Your build, how you stayed there through all the other opportunities, the culture that you've established of physicality and toughness is what I believe is necessary to win. And I just told him I had a lot of respect for him. That I think he's one of the best coaches in the country, one of the most underrated coaches in the country. And I think that he made a choice to stay at a place and build it and do it the right way. And I couldn't have more respect for him as a football coach, as a person. Not nearly as cool as him. I guess he rides a Harley around. He embodies just, I think, what college football is supposed to be about. And I'm envious of him, and hopefully I can have the career he has had and is having.
Coach Steve Guglielcello, Arizona Sports. It was a brutal summer here. It's still pretty warm. Saturday's supposed to be in the low to mid 40s in Utah. Is that something you think about, and how do you prepare your players for that?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, but it's still 75 and beautiful out here, so it's hard to prepare. So I would say the negative of having perfect weather right now for all those recruits that are listening to this, perfect weather of 75 and sunny, is you harder to prepare for cold weather climates. The good comes with the bad.
Some of the things you were saying about Utah's style just made me want to ask you the versatility of tight ends and 12 personnel and getting guys out on the perimeter and generating things that way. You have personnel that you can obviously do that with, Jalen and Bryce, et cetera. And how much of that is an advantage? And have we seen as much of that capability as you would like to be able to put on the field?
Yeah, not as much as I've done in years past. And goes back to just my history of a lot of 12 and solid amount of 13 open sets and moving guys around. Haven't done as much of that. Just not what I think is best for us right now. It could be this week based off what they do. It could not be. It just depends on as we continue to watch the tape. But I think the key when you play games like this is just to find matchups. If your best matchup is a corner on a wideout, then great. If your best matchup is your third receiver on a nickel or a safety, then great. If your best matchup is the tight end on the nickel, then great. Tailback on a linebacker, then great. So I just think you have to find it's truly a matchup game. And these games are truly won moving the people, move the people, run over the people, and win your one-on-ones. There's not really a special sauce to winning these games other than, be physical.
And then is there anybody that was maybe borderline that you might get back this week?
No. Maybe Bram, but probably doubt it. So I would say we're about the same as we were last week.
Mason Williams, is he?
Maybe. I would assume he's still out. It would be impressive to get him back. And I don't know. I would doubt that he comes back. We'll find out more Tuesday, but I would doubt that he returns.